All right, so from what it sounds like, I think that you, my friend, are probably an introvert. Tending to analyze things and taking all these subjects that are popping into your head. And the reason why you feel like you can have a normal conversation with your family is because that these people accept you. They accept you for who you are. You don't have to try and think about cool things to say and try to think about what funny things to say around your family. You can be yourself, and when you're hanging out with your family, I'm sure that you're probably a funny guy, and you can have thoughtful conversations with them, like you said, and that's because you're able to be yourself and not overthinking things. So, with that said, it's natural for all humans to want to be accepted. So when you're talking to these strangers, if you're overanalyzing everything and you have the human need to be accepted, that means that you're overthinking what kind of things you should say. You're trying so hard to think of things that you'll have in common with this person, whether it's your sense of humor or topics, sports teams. You're trying so hard to think of things that you have in common, when really you should just focus on letting the conversation flow. There are going to be things that you guys are going to disagree on, but there's three things that can happen. They're going to agree with you on something, whether they think your jokes are funny, or whether they like your agree with you on a topic. They'll disagree with you on something. They won't think your joke's funny. They'll have a different view on the topic. But those are the main two things that can happen. Rarely ever will you have the third thing happen, which is, they are so disconnected from you that they don't even want to continue the conversation. When someone disagrees with you or doesn't see it quite in the same light, there's nothing wrong with that. And by acknowledging your differences between you and the stranger, then they have to accept you for who you are. You're not having to lie and to think about how to frame yourself to become acceptable. Either they accept you for your differences, or there is no relationship. This way you don't have to think about what it is you have to say to keep conversation. If they don't accept you for who you are, there's nothing you can do about it. Being yourself and getting rejected every now and then is a lot better than constantly trying to be something that you're not. If you're constantly trying to be something that you're not, then you'll never be truly comfortable with forming an emotional bond with these people, because you can't form an emotional bond if you're not yourself. Because quite honestly, it feels good to sort of have a different viewpoint than someone, and to realize that, yeah, we're different, but we have some similarities. And just because we don't see eye to eye on certain things, that's not going to prevent me from having conversation with them. And if for whatever reason the fact that we don't see eye to eye on something causes them to not want to have conversation with you, then that means that they're not accepting you for who you are. And if they're really not accepting you for who you are, then it's no sweat, because there's tons of people who do accept you and do love you for who you are. So don't overthink it. Shoot the shit. People like to talk about themselves. Just where you're from, what you're doing. Be consciously aware. Sure, you can still ask yourself questions like, listen closely and be like, oh, what's a question that I can bounce off of that, or what's a story that I can say that relates to what they just said. There's nothing wrong with asking yourself these questions. But the key is they should always be answered with something truthful, not something that you're just making up or trying to say. So I hope this helps a little bit. I know it's really long-winded, but yeah, you know, there's three things that are going to happen. They're going to accept you and or agree with you on things, and that'll be something that you guys can have in common, and or they'll disagree with you on something, and either, you know, they'll, and you know, if they disagree with you on something, either they will, you know, maybe not have as close a relationship as you, or maybe, you know, if it means, if they disagree with you, and that means that they, you know, don't want to be quite as open with you, then that's fine, because you're being who you are, and they'll respect you for your differences. And if they, for whatever reason, just don't want to have, you know, any conversation with you, then it's fine. You know, they're not accepting you for who you are, and there's plenty of people that will. And when you're acting your natural self, when you're just being yourself, then you'll find that you attract a lot more people because you're confident in yourself.